Hi, technicians. It's Jen from Draftline, and today we're super excited to have the second half of the Tapped crew transitioning onto Draftline. We're excited to work with you, and you guys were our second customer on the South Bay region. So now that the North Bay is coming on, we're just going to fit you right into what we've been doing all along, and I think we're going to have a great time with it. So, a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, as we work through these first couple of weeks, we want to make sure that you're working on the day assigned, if at all possible. With the way that Harry and the entire team is set up, the routes, I think that will be fine. They were uploaded in the way that they were given to us, and I think that they should be in good working order for you technicians. And if anybody needs anything rerouted, Harry has printed out the route change forms. We have those with us today, and we'll make sure that those are disseminated within the group. For those, you use one per day, write out the order of the accounts that you want to see them in, and move forward from there. And you email them to support@draftlinesmartsystem.com. We'll get those changes in for you, and you'll be off and running. A couple of big things to keep in mind. Number one, working on the day assigned, especially in the initial cycles. That's really important. Number two, is making sure you check in when you get to the account, check out when you leave, so we have really good time accounting. And number three, which is the biggie for Tapped North Bay, is that we 100% need you to be entering all the brands every single time you go to the location and keeping those up to date with the distributors if at all possible. We have all that information on the back end as well, but in the early days, making sure that you're keeping up with those faucet surveys as you go into the accounts, because we need you to remember that the billing will now be generated from Draftline for your distributors. So we really, really need to make sure that accuracy is going to count. We're going to help you, we're going to get you through it, and it's going to be a lot of data entry on the first and maybe into the second cycle, but after that it becomes much, much easier. So let's dive right into the tutorial on what a line cleaning is going to look like for you. So when you log into the mobile application, you're going to download it from either the Android or iOS store, or the App Store, I should say. It will download for free onto your device. We have the login information that we are going to give you at the meeting today. You will use that to log into the app, and then you will see your route just like this. So I affectionately call this the toilet paper roll, because it's like each section, each sheet is one of your line cleaning trips. We also may begin to do service in this method, but the first cycle is just going to be line cleaning. So let's click into the Town Pump Tavern. This is your overview page. You can get directed. You see the time and date that it is scheduled, not the time and date that you were locked into doing it. You also, underneath that, see the trip title, Line Cleaning Town Pump Tavern. If the phone number is in Draftline, you can swipe to call and you see all the technicians assigned to this trip. I do believe that we have certain trips with multiple technicians. You'll all be lined up. The main thing to keep in mind is that the foreman is responsible for the checkout options. If you are a foreman on one of your line cleanings, you will see this little alien guide to the right of your name. Each trip, one person is assigned the foreman. Okay, everybody can feed to the checklist, which we'll get into, but that's just something important to know. If you're not the foreman, you won't see the checkout options. So for iOS, we navigate from the bottom of the screen. For Android, the only difference, it would be at the top of the screen. Now for tasks, we're going to click into that, and you're always going to see the safety first guidelines. As you know, we started as a chemical company. That's our sister company. We always want our guys and gals wearing gloves and goggles. It's very important. An ounce of prevention equals a pound of cure, my friends. So always remember your safety equipment. The first thing you're going to do when you get to the tasks page, and this is when you pull up to the parking lot before you go into the location. Okay, you're going to check in even before you take your supplies out of your truck. Bottom right, you're going to click that circle and it's going to turn blue, and that starts the time of service. Something really, really important is to remember to check in when you get there, because this is now good time accounting. So we're going to be able to provide real-time reports not just the compliance reports to our distributors for the breweries that they represent, but also we have some accounts here where we're cleaning on a contract basis. We want to make sure that we give them a good time accounting because we can do some really fun things with our reporting now. But we want to make sure that we're keeping track appropriately and that it's looking good every single time. So you're checked in, you're going to put your device away, you're going to go in, you're going to get the chemical pumping through the lines, break down your faucets, be at the end of the service, and then we're going to go through all of our checklists. So just keep in mind, you're going to take your device out when you get there, check in, put it away for a while, and then at the end of the service, we're going to fill out all this information. And by the way, once you're up to speed, 25 seconds start to finish. I promise. So we're going to pop into our little bubbles. We're going to go into the line cleaning one. We'll click on that gray bubble. This is going to show us what type of beer system is in the location. On startup, we may have some incorrect information, but he's pretty organized. I think we're going to have most of this nailed. But if that is not correct, if it's actually air-cooled or glycol, or I should say air-cooled or direct draw, we want to change that. So you'll have to send us a note or text, and we'll get that switched out. So let's click on the bar. Now for line cleaning, always 100% of your trips are going to be regular maintenance. If you do use a recirculation pump, you would click recirculation pump. But 97% of trips are not going to be recirc. They're going to be static. And at the bottom right, you want to send and save those changes. So anytime you input something with a check mark, you have to remember, hey, I have to send this to Jen and the team. So regular maintenance and static. And if you were working on an acid cycle, you would do that as well. But 97% of the time, again, regular maintenance, static. So how do I send those? Okay, the green circle at the bottom right. We're going to click that. That saves the changes that you input, sends it off to the dashboard. So every time you input something, you have to remember to send it. Now, faucets. When you guys go into clean, you're not always cleaning 100% of the faucets. So that's a little intricacy that comes into play here. However, at the top, you're always going to check this. And this just basically verifies I disassembled, cleaned the faucets, soaked them, brushed them. All the washers and O-rings are in good condition. Tap handles look good. I put them back together. Now, at the bottom of this, you're only going to apply the check mark to the faucets that you actually service. So if you cleaned all three, you would say, oh, I cleaned all three. I applied this to all three. But realistically, it's probably going to be faucet 1 on tower 1 and faucet 1 on tower 2. And as the systems start to populate, we'll go through that more. We'll talk more about this at the meeting. It's always bartender view left to right. So we'll talk about that on the second page as well. Now, again, I've said I've cleaned faucet 1 on tower 1 and faucet 1 on tower 3. So at the bottom right, I have to send it. So we're going to hit the green circle with the check mark, and that's going to send it off. Now, when we get back to this page, you're going to see partially completed for both your line cleaning tasks and your faucet tasks. That is always as it should be. The faucets, the only thing that would happen is it would say you cleaned 100% and there would be a check mark if you indeed did clean every faucet at a location. But this is just a visual indicator for you. That's the way it should look. Don't be alarmed. Nobody else monitors that. That's just so you don't have to click back through the screens, okay? So now, I'm going to show you how to take a note. The very center bottom of the screen above your home button, you're going to click on notes, and anytime you get turned away from a location, I expect to have a note as to why. This is very important so we can inform our distributors of when we were turned away from accounts, when accounts were closed. All of this information that we're inputting, that you guys are gathering so carefully for us, the big thing to realize is these items all go back to real-time compliance reports for our distributors that they are required to give to the brewery. And we need to make sure that we have good information for them. And when a cleaning didn't happen, in order to give them great record keeping, we want to make sure we are able to tell them why it did not happen. So, for instance, you show up to the location and they say, hey, you cannot clean today. Too busy for lunch. So you go to this note section and you say, too busy, refused service. And then Again, anytime you input something, you have to send it. So the method here is this little paper airplane. You click the paper airplane, it's off and running. Now, also photos. I love to have photos of cooler stickers. If you happen to use PH paper, I love to have the photos of the PH paper, one for each line. We'll talk about that at the meeting. But it's as easy as taking a photo here. You click on the photo capture at the bottom right, we're going to use photo. Now you put that in. Even though you don't see it, you have to send it. Okay, so anytime you take a photo, hit the paper airplane and it starts to upload. And it takes a few seconds for images to transpose. So you'll see it there pop up in another minute, but you can see that it's sent already. And that will show back on the dashboard, and that will also save with the trip ticket. So anything that goes on with the trip, we want you to input that within DraftLine. It saves as a little time capsule, and it's just great to have. So now, moving on, we'll go to the system. This is going to be your most time-consuming page. This is where we're tracking brands, but it is absolutely vital that I have everybody in this group understand that this is how we generate revenue for the company moving forward. If you are not putting in the brands and faucets that you clean, we are not making money, and we cannot have that. So we're going to be monitoring the number of faucets that you're entering in every day and make sure that that is matching up. Now, very intelligently, Harry has decided to run both systems tandem for 2 weeks, and we will give you the high sign and tell you, hey, you don't have to do the paper method anymore. But we always like to do that with our service centers to make sure everybody's transitioned carefully. So back to tracking brands. Now, this is why the system builder information is important, because if anybody also ever picks up your route, they need to know what type of system and where everything is. So that's why we map out the beer system. So this is a glycol system at the main bar. And these towers are a little messed up here, but at the main bar, we're going to start with Tower 1, and we're going to slide across to enter our brand. And we're going to click on that. And everything for our billing is driven by this brand and distributor relationship, so you have to remember that. So for the brand, let's just input Budweiser. Now, all of your brands have been uploaded into DraftLine, so when you type in the first 3 letters, it will bring up the drop-down menu. You can always create new brands and save those. Harry's concern is you have a very particular distributor that has some off German brands that are going to change on a regular basis, and we can handle that. So if it's something that doesn't appear within your drop-down list, just spell it as well as you can, and then we'll go and look it up later. So you're going to type in Budweiser, click on the drop-down menu, and then click Next. That will populate that field. And then for the distributor, I'm just going to use one that I know and I've populated. We're going to click on Gray Eagle, and you're going to click Next, and this faucet change looks perfect. So you click OK. Now, faucet request sent, that goes back to the dashboard. We validate that information. Now let's go to Tower 2, faucet 1. So for this one, this just has no data in it right now. For the brand, say there's no brand on tap, but there is a faucet there, we're going to put open. And of course, because there's no beer on tap, there's no distributor. So we'll click Next and we'll click OK. Now say for faucet 2 on that tower, that it's a brand that we haven't heard of, and it's also a distributor that we don't know who that distributor is. So let me just put Chimay, and then we're going to click Next. For if we do not clean that brand and we are not 100% sure of who the distributor is, we will put independent. Okay, so you click on independent for any distributor you're not familiar with. Now that also signifies to us that you're not cleaning that because you don't know who it belongs to. So it's a good flag for us to have, because we can go back and verify that against your brand list, which we are trying to keep up to date on the back end, and make sure that we're directing you with the right information if we need to make any modification to what you're cleaning. Now, this is the way it will still look until those faucets are validated by the DraftLine Cloud support team. And so once those are accepted into the system, it'll start to populate, and you would see Chimay I think it was Budweiser, and the other one was open. Okay, so the first date of service, we're going to have to go through this with every single faucet. I know it's time consuming, but everybody's very understanding within the tapped group to make sure that we give you the time and the resources to get this done. The other thing to keep in mind is that you now have cloud-based support. So say you have 20 faucets, contact us, reach out to us, take a photo. We'll help you enter that. Just make sure on the onesies, twosies, threesies, I need to see you guys entering this information so I know that you know how to do it. Okay? And we'll be in touch if something's not going right or if you're entering something incorrectly. We will be in touch with you. Now, one thing to keep in mind, say on this tower too, that you have a third faucet and you want to add that faucet. You can add faucets, but you can't make any other modifications to the system builder. And again, these won't show up until the next date of service because the DraftLine team has to validate these. So to add a faucet to a tower, and something I think I forgot to talk about is when we're taking these faucet surveys, it's bartender view. We're going from our far left to our far right, always. And we'll talk about this in the startup meeting. But bartender view left to right. So faucet number 1 is at your far left, and faucet number 2 is at your far right. Now, when we get into these monster systems, if you get into a location and you're confused, that's when you call us and we'll talk you through it and maybe exchange a photo with us, and we'll be able to say, okay, this is how we're going to do it. But that's what we're here for, to help you through the process. So bartender view left to right. I'm standing at the tower. I've got faucet 1, faucet 2. As I work my way to my right, I say, oh, I need a faucet 3. I scroll across, I hit the plus sign, and again, just duplicate the same thing. So let's say this one is Miller. And we'll go Miller Lite, next. And then, I don't know who the distributors are in your area, but I'm going to click on Monarch. They're a Miller distributor. And then again, click OK. And you go through the exact same process that you go through for just entering a faucet that already exists. So it's just duplicated. For you guys, sometimes it's faster for you just to add the faucet as opposed to having to call us. But if you get into a situation where you need to do this, more than 3 or 4 faucets need to be added to a tower, I highly recommend that you send the support number a text, because then we can help you through that and add those. And then you just refresh your screen by doing that, and it gets added once we say, okay, refresh your screen, and then they pop up for you, and you don't have to be worried about keeping track of which ones you're entering. So anytime we make a modification to the system builder or your checklist or add you as a foreman, you will have to refresh your screen simply by scrolling down. You'll see the little circle spin. That just means it's contacting the server to get our save changes, and it will appear on your phone. And we'll do a lot of this in the beginning days, so that's just an FYI. So the last function that we ask you guys to help us with is collecting a signature. And that's the only thing under the expenses tab that you need to worry about. It's this little pencil. We're going to click on the pencil, and we're going to enter the name of the person signing. We always like to have a signature, but we realize that sometimes it's not possible for you to get a signature. So we ask that you use your best efforts. Don't ever wait around for somebody to get a signature, but if somebody is there willing to sign, please have them do it, because it's fantastic record keeping, and yes, it looks really good on the report. So bottom right, we're going to click success, and at the very bottom of the screen under my name here, that's where we're going to sign. We're going to click done, and that's going to pop up. It takes a moment again for the image to transpose. Sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't. We always have a timestamp right away. And if you ever have any question, let us know. Some people get confused by the fact that they don't see it pop up there, but that's totally okay. And also keep in mind, we have another update coming with the signature next week where we are going to make it pop up every time. So you have to have your auto updates on, and we'll talk about that in a second. So now we've gone through our tasks, our notes, and photos, and we're remembering that every time we enter something, we have to send it. Okay, so you've clicked the boxes, but you have to send it to me. We've gone through our system and populated our system builder, and we have also captured a signature. That is all we do on DraftLine. So now, once you have finished all the cleaning, you've finished your faucet surveys, you've completed your tasks list from this task page, which includes your line cleaning and your faucet checklist. And it's very important that we populate the brands on the correct faucets, because we're going to be coming back to you asking. Is this correct? If we look like we have a discrepancy, and we've loaded everything up on our vehicle, we're ready to roll, and we're ready to check out. So you're going to check out after you have finished the service, loaded everything up. We're going to hit this blue button, and this effectively ends the time for the trip. Now, 95%, I'm hoping 100% of your trips, but usually in the high 90s, are going to be completed. That means you came, you saw, you conquered, you did everything you were supposed to do. Partially completed, you will never use, so don't even worry. That's for stadiums. No work performed is when you went to an account and for whatever reason you were there to do your job, but they refused service. No beer, no gas, too busy for lunch. And anytime we have a no work performed status, I must have a note because we're going to go back and match those up. So in this case, we're going to say completed. And now the top left, we're going to go back, hit the trips button, and this is going to take us back to our trips page, the toilet paper roll, and you will see the Town Pump Tavern is completed. Now what I want to do is really quickly go through a trip so you can see how fast we can maneuver. Again, regular maintenance, static cleaning, which means a pressure pot for anybody who has a question. For our faucets, we're going to click on this. And this system builder is populated. So I'm going to say that we clean the Budweiser, the Bud Light, and the Sam Adams. Bottom right, I have to send it. We're going to click that circle, and that's going to send it. Notes, we're going to say hello. And you don't have to have a note on every single trip. But again, I'll take a photo. And what do I have to do? I have to use it, but I also have to send that photo, and that's going to populate. So that's going to take a second. Again, this is what the system builder will look like on your second date of service. And we'll go through and say the Budweiser has now changed to a Bud Light. We'll back it out. We'll click on Bud Light, hit next. And for a distributor, again, I'll use the Grey Eagle example. Next, and we'll click OK. And that sends it off. So here, bartender view left to right, make sure all your brands match up. On the ones that don't, we're doing the faucet changes. That's fine. We've sent that off. All those changes will be accepted, and then it will update again before you're out there the next time. Then on the expenses, you hit the pencil. We're going to input Jen, success, and under the name, we sign, we click done, and that's going to upload. And we go back to tasks and we check out. Now, for example purposes, I'm going to say this one was no work performed because I want to be able to scroll back to the trips and show you how it color codes throughout the day. So our goal here is to make sure that we have no open trips at the end of the day. We want nothing open, and we'll talk more about that later. If we have a problem completing our routes, we have certain coding that we use to push those forward. But again, early days, please, please, please try to work on day. If we need to make modifications, we're here to make you guys happy. We're here to help you. You're going to have all of our contact information so you can come to us and we can help you through your day. And this is what we do day in and day out. So I look forward to working with all of you. I know we're going to have a lot of success. Josh is going to be here with me today to help do some smaller groups afterwards. And I really look forward to launching this tomorrow with you. Take care, guys.